Luca was the king then, and he soon had two sons, Numitor and Amulius. Although Numitor was supposed to be appointed king because of age, Amulius took the throne. Amulius killed the rest of his family and forced Rhea Silva to be a Vestal, taking any hope of continuing the Numitor bloodline. Nevertheless, she gave birth to twins and named Mars the father. It seemed slightly logical, but she was arrested anyway. He sent the twins to be killed in the Tiber, but he sent someone too stupid to get the job done right. The minion he sent didn't set the twins in the river, but rather he set them in a small stagnant puddle. He left hoping that the river would rise again and drown the babies. The river didn't overflow. Instead, a mother wolf came down from the mountains and decided to care for the boys instead of eat them. By chance, a farmer, Fastulo, found the boys and brought them home. He adopted them and educated them and fed and clothed them with the help of his wife, Laurentia. After restoring power to Numitor, the twins, Romulus and Remus, decided to establish bigger cities so that Alba and Lavinia wouldn't be so crowded. Sibling rivalry was soon apparent, and arguments erupted between the two equally matched young men. Remus saw his omen first, 6 vultures, but Romulus saw 12. After fighting over which omen was more important, they each developed resentment for the other. Then, Romulus killed Remus. Some say that Remus antagonized his brother, but everyone knows that siblings never annoy each other. Since Romulus was now alone, he named the city after himself and ruled as a single power. Once upon a time, there were 2 sets of triplets. One set was from Alba Longa, the other was from Rome. At the time, the 2 countries were at war. The kings decided to have the sets of triplets fight instead of entire armies. At most, they would each lose 3 men. The nation that wins would gain control of the other and rule in peace and harmony. Soon after the treaty was agreed upon and signed, the triplets began their battle. It was a bloody and vicious scene. All 3 Curatii were wounded, but the 2 Horatii were killed. The last Horatii was left uninjured, but facing 3 opponents. The last Horatius began to run and in turn separated the Curatii triplets. The weakest lagged behind the rest. Horatius quickly turned and cut down the fastest Curatii. He then ran towards the second, who he destroyed with ease. He proclaimed, "The first 2 are sacrificed for my brothers. The third will be for the sake of this war." The last was barely able to protect himself and didn't even put up a fight. The soldiers rejoiced and congratulated their triplet, but the happiness was short-lived. Each nation had to soon turn to bury their own. The pride of King Tarquin was degrading the society, and it brought about a need for change. Brutus provided the change and called for all Tarquins to be banished. He set out with a small army to gain support, but heard about the coming of Tarquinius. He changed routes to avoid him. Tarquin arrived in Rome, only to find the gates locked for him. Soon after, the rest of his family was also expelled. The kings had been ruling for 244 years, and it was time for change. 2 consulship positions were established, and Junius Brutus and Tarquinius Collatinus were elected. The Romans were so strict in their protection of freedom that Tarquinius Collatinus's name seemed threatening. Brutus called for all traces of the Tarquins to be destroyed. Brutus tried to expel him on good terms. He moved his things, and if anything was lacking, he increased it. He only wanted the citizens to feel safe. Collatinus resigned and moved to Lavinium so that Brutus could officially announce the Tarquins were gone. He soon elected Publius Valerius to the consulship. Soon the Tarquins were in need, and they fled to Porcina. Porcina decided to attack Rome with his army. The army soon surrounded the city. The walls protected some of the city, but the Tiber blocked the rest. The only way across the Tiber was a bridge, but there was one man who was prepared to fight to the death to protect it. The other Roman men dropped their weapons and ran. Horatius Cocles was the only man left. He knew if they abandoned the bridge, the Capitoline and Palatine Hill would be captured. Horatius managed to hold back two men, Spurius Larcius and Titius Herminius, who he instructed to destroy the bridge while he fought off the men. As the bridge collapsed, Horatius prayed to Father Tiber to protect him and jumped into the river and swam to safety. For saving the city, a statue was erected in the city square, and he was given a nice plot of land. Not too long after, Porcina planned another attack to blockade Rome. The blockade kept imports from getting into the city and also was meant to protect the Etruscans. He set up camp on the bank of the Tiber. He had made all Roman colonies enemies, and the Etruscans were growing more anxious for war. It drove Gaius Mucius to hate their condition. He said,
"When we were enslaved under the kings, we never suffered attacks, so why are the same free people now being besieged?"
Mucius soon confronted the patrons and asked to invade the camp of the enemy to kill Porcina. Once they approved, he departed with his sword to assassinate Porcina. When he arrived, he was surprised to find that there were two men on the king's platform that looked alike. He was scared to ask which was Porcina, so he killed the guy on the left. Unfortunately, the wrong guy. He ran away through the crowd with his bloody sword in hand. He was soon arrested and brought back to face Porcina. He said,
"I am a Roman citizen. I came here to kill you, but didn't succeed. It doesn't matter, though, because there are many more after me who want this honor and have sworn to kill you."
Although quite frightened, Porcina replied, "If you don't tell me how, when, and where the rest are to kill me, I will be forced to burn you." As Mucius thrust his right hand into the fire, he said,
"Unfortunately for you, pain and suffering don't scare me."
Porcina barely knew how to respond. He said, "You are far too courageous for me to kill. Leave with honor and dignity." Mucius left that day with the new name Scaevola, to represent his new left-handed tendencies.